Let's go all the way back, man, and tell everybody where you grew up.
Born and raised in the nation's cap, Chocolate City. For those that don't know, I'm a Been a Road baby. Been a Road raised me. You know what I'm saying? But I push West Side original Harlem Avenue Crip. Like having Jeff, baby. 3100.
DC, talk to us about what your upbringing was like.
Okay, in DC, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really much mesh well with the locals too much. You know what I'm saying? This is my background. You know what I'm saying? I grew up here. Started hanging with, you know what I'm saying, different cuz, different cats, different lokes from different sets. And then, you know, from there, we got connected with Los Angeles. Niggas was pulling up, you know. I took a trip out west, you know what I'm saying, got my hood, you know, solidified, sealed, stamped, and everything, you know. Learned about the culture more, you know what I'm saying, came back, and, you know, the culture spread like wildfire alongside other sets, such as, you know, you got the Casablancas, you got the Faux Trays, you got the 60s, and you got 30s. You know what I'm saying? We all in the building. And shout out to the rest of the sets that I, you know, didn't mention, but we also had a couple of people from the Insanes as well, you know, and the Coasters. So, you know, Crippin' is, you know, it's a fairly new thing for the last, you know, 20 plus some semi-odd years for the DMV. You know, it's not our culture, but it slowly became our culture because it's trickling in every day. Shit, we got Hoovers out here, we got Bounty Hunter Bloods out here, we got Treetop Hyrule out here. So, and we even got the, you know, the enemies, the Brims. You know what I'm saying? They all over, man. We got a couple of homies from Grapes, from A Trays. Like, so just to give everybody, you know, a clear spectrum of, we even got MS in here. You know what I'm saying? Serranos, Norteños, local gangs like New Dynasty, which is 15th Street. We got Master Crew, which is the MCs. We got Vatos Locos. We got Latin Kings. Like, bro, we even got 7-4 GD, you know what I'm saying? GD folks. So we got a little bit of everything, and we got local crews, you know what I'm saying? Like Fox 5, you know, just regular hoods such as Barry Farms. You got Georgia Ave, you know, the list goes on, man. So, DC is a very divided city. So the portrait that I'm painting for y'all is, you know, everybody ain't your friend and everybody ain't your partner, man. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the times what happens when you see people push gang life is because people look for outlets to actually become a part of something. So, you know, if you can't make it with your local crew, you know, you find yourself a crew that you get with, and it just so happens to be a set. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. And can't forget about some of my homies, you know what I'm saying, from 18th Streets. We got those out here, too. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing for my people that aren't really hip to, you know, the gang lingo or the gangs that are integrated, you know, with the locals and the crews that's already out here and established. You know, the culture is changing drastically. So, you know, it's, you know, a part of it, I would say I blame the music, but another part of it comes from, you know, the misinterpretation of what people once thought gangs were about through social media and movies and other outlets like that, to actually guys actually pulling up to Los Angeles nowadays more so on both sides. And everyone is slowly attending the hood days. Everybody's going to go kick it in their hood. Everybody's going to be around their homies. Everybody's going to funerals. Everybody's going to, you know, just a regular friendly function. People are actually, you know, traveling that trip, bro. You know what I'm saying? People are taking these 5-hour nonstop flights just to be integrated with the culture. They really stand on this, bro. So I just, you know what I'm saying? That's just a part of, you know, a little bit of my background, you know. Mm-hmm. But before Crippin' was just, you know, before Crippin' came in the mix, it was all about go-go. It was all about getting something from, you know, the carry out, putting my mumble sauce on my, you know, my salt and pepper in my fries, and, you know, half a half. You feel me? Like that was, and the Beat Your Feet Kings before we started trading that for sea walking. You know, that was life. You know what I'm saying?
Beat Your Feet Kings, break that down.
The Beat Your Feet Kings, rest in peace to my homie Tilo, aka Twan, from Insane. He was one of Wayne Perry's nephews. And Wayne, for those that need a friendly reminder, Wayne Perry was the hitman for Rayford Evans. You know, one of the most notorious drug dealers in the entire nation's cap and DMV area. And one of his nephews, rest in peace to Twan, he was instrumental with beating your feet. And the same way you would call pop locking, on the West Coast, beat your feet is our version of that. Just a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? So the culture is a little bit, different. But some things, for the general nature of things, don't change. Like when you go to go-go's, everyone always holds them to like the municipal centers and, different go-go bands. And when people play, the sounds, the dance was actually formed so you can match the beat, No different from the West Coast,
Yeah.
What
was, to the best of your knowledge, what was banging like in DC before it became part of the culture?
Okay, banging in DC, essentially we all start out as, nomads. And when I say nomads, I mean like non-colors. We all come from different neighborhoods. So some are uptown, some are from South Side, some are from Northeast, some are from the West, which is short for Southwest. And a lot of us and some of us that are born on the outskirts of DC, the four main sections is Northwest, which is uptown, Southeast, which is South Side, and you got Southwest, which they refer to as the West, and then you got Northeast, which is just Northeast. Now, anything within the metro limits would be PG County, Maryland, and Montgomery County, which is short for that, it would be MoCo, Mo County. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's a separate section of Maryland. And then you got, Arlington, the city of Arlington is right across the street, you know what I'm saying, in Virginia, Crystal City and all that. That's where the Pentagon is at. So anything within that area that makes up the general consensus of the metro bounds, that's the DMV. And a lot of us don't have a lot of these West Coast and Midwest gangs that we have today. Before it was about, hey, look, you might be a part of like a 2-man, a 5-man crew, or even a 10-man crew that's just local. And everybody was, into selling drugs, trading guns or flipping cars and, just regular street shit. You might have been a pimp, regular shit. You just didn't have, and the only thing that you had was, there was no uniform. You feel me? Anybody that comes in anything, you feel me? So there's no way to identify anyone unless someone has a certain lingo or somebody has a certain squad or a tattoo to identify, but there was no general uniform. You know what I'm saying? So life back then was kind of like, only way you beef with somebody is if they hollered out, their neighborhood over like a go-go function. So if somebody called out your neighborhood and you heard it, like go-go was a way of trying to unify the streets by, by giving people shout outs. But because when you in the go-go function, when you're in the function on the dance floor, you may hear your neighborhood getting called out. So everybody in your section is making noise. Unbeknownst to you, across from you, your number one rival, their neighborhood gets shouted out. And then that's when somebody breaks a chair on someone's head. And then that's when guns get whipped out. So much for a peaceful, function. You know what I'm saying? So, it ain't too much, It's like if somebody yells out Simple City, there might be another nigga trying to rival you. It might be coming from, the other side. Or somebody hollers out Chopper City, somebody gets angry about that, So somebody might be from Stanton Road, but this person might be from Savannah. And they right in walking distance of each other. This person can yell out Saratoga, and the other person is yelling out Montana. And it used to be like when niggas see each other in walking distance, like mind you, we don't have big territories. They're in walking distance. One block is this hood, the next block over is that hood. So just think of the east side of Los Angeles.
Yeah, LA.
When you think of yeah, it's like that. And it's similar like how you used to have First Street. You go across, then you get to the essays, and you go back across, and you get back in the coasters off the 59th, and then you keep going, and you get to the 6-pack, 6 dudes, 6'6", 6'8", 6'9", then you come right back across the street. Now you over here approaching the kitchens and the Avalons and all of them. You know what I'm saying? So that's how DC was before, we put the, the C and the B,
Okay.
and everything.
Now, when the C and the B came along, were there, people who were giving out knowledge that wasn't necessarily coinciding with what was going on in the land? Was there a lot of false information out there? Talk to us about that aspect, the early days of just sets sprouting up and, maybe sharing information that's not the truest, because unfortunately a lot of out of town sets, and when I say out of town, I say that respectfully, they get looked down upon because their politics are different than what goes on in LA. But I'm pretty sure, I'm guessing that back then when things were first starting out, that there was a lot of that going on, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, a large portion of that came from, there were three things that played a role into gangbanging. The number one was the drug trade. When the drugs came, of course, we're talking about drug years is like 83, 84, and 85. You could be the richest guy off of cocaine. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you remember the war on drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, so whenever you're getting something from the West Coast, or if it comes from South America, from its origin, whoever, it could come from any city in America. If that city does business with any type of West Coast gang, whether it be a black or a Mexican gang, and you got family somewhere in different cities and states, and you want to make a quick dollar, no matter how you make this dollar, you know what I'm saying, that your whatever outfit or attire or lingo that you come in the door with, because everybody's proud to represent where they from. So when you stay that individual around other individuals, people gravitate towards that. And that's one way of some of the people receiving some of the, core information that they're being laced with. However, there are also other people who are around these individuals, and these individuals never even got put on by this person. They just took their image because they were fascinated by it, and they turned around and tried to shape their own ways and their own lore about it. And that gave out so much misleading information to a lot of people. And then you got other people that actually came over here, and set up shop and said, you know what, we want to put a set out here. And they did that, not because, you've heard the stories. Some people come over here because they want more money, more land, more opportunity, right? They want to, do their thing. They want to spread the hood. Who the fuck's going to stop them? And they got status like that. It's like, what the hell are you going to tell me? No. You know what I'm saying? Then you got that side. Then you got the other side. That's the ops. They already see that they getting left in the dust. So they don't want to be left behind. They want to make some money. They want to get in on this too. They want more soldiers too. So they're going to want to be a part of that. You feel me? And they also got family out of town, because everybody that's from the West Coast, believe it or not, a large legions of OGs that are highly respected gang members, both on the C side and the B side, not always were a part of, or and where we at is we're on the borderline. So, we're the Southern Mid-Atlantic East Coast, but we are still considered the quarter South, if that makes sense. So a lot of, our cousins that moved from Texas, like you got a lot of Crips that have influences from where they're originally from. Like how you got OG, Turtle and his brother, from Santana Block. Rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? Like the lowriders and getting them candy, coated and chromed out. You know what I'm saying? Like in Texas, they was doing the same thing. And when you look at Majestic Car Club in Los Angeles, in Compton, that's one of the biggest car clubs that
Yep.
You feel me? And then when you look at, the customization of Crown Vics, a lot of people started putting their favorite superhero movie or cartoon on it. A lot of that came from out of the Fudgetown Compton. Fudgetown Watts Crips. Fudgetown, from Watts, they was the ones, setting the trends like that. Shout out to my nigga Young Brown. That's Bronco.
Yeah, Bronco.
You know what I'm saying? 2 T's, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? So, much love to the city of Watts. Much love to the hub and the dub. But you can see how easily influences like that trickled their way over into the Western culture, and then it goes right back out to the Eastern and the South and the Midwest. You can kind of see how easily that can be. And then finally, another big major player would be the penitentiary system. A lot of people join for protection because they don't want to be touched when they're put in a position where they're between a rock and a hard place. So they succumb to those type of pressures if they don't get with a religious group or if it's not a racial thing, depending on where they're stationed at. And then these guys will get put on and quartered on in the pen. And when they come home from doing their bid and they get to the street, a lot of people don't know them. So now they got to reintroduce themselves to that. So that's another way how, the culture trickled in. And last but not least, the biggest misleading thing would be the TV, the music videos, and the movies. Because Hollywood has a way of romanticizing things that people don't understand, a lot of people gravitate towards that, and they see that as that's the one, and that's the truth for them.
Colors and banging on wax and all that probably have more to do with spreading sets across the world, not just the country, but the world, than anything, than dope, than anything, right?
Yeah, because, think about it. We don't know the real reasons why, Don Cheadle's depiction of, the East Coasters is banging on one of the Bloods that we assume is from Swans. We don't know. All we see is the opening credits of, some nice sunny California, and the next thing you know, okay, here come a car full of Crips. They find a Blood who's trying to be in disguise.
Rocket don't joke.
Yeah, with Damon Wayans portrayed as a crackhead. You feel me? And what's funny about the making of that movie is that director didn't do his research, because none of those guys, except for the extras in the movie, are real gang members.
Mm-hmm.
The Hollywood faces, like, come on, bro.
Yeah, Leon, none of that. They all dressed up. They dressed the part.
Yeah.
Damn good job.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but they definitely dressed the part.
Oh yeah, but Don Cheadle has a cousin that's a Blood, and if I'm not mistaken, Glenn Plummer.
Yeah,
plays Hot Top. He raised Richmond, California, correct?
I believe so. He didn't know anything about C's and B's, if I'm not mistaken, or he didn't know much about the culture because it wasn't big up there at that time.
Yeah, so you could just imagine you got people that look how quick an actor can pick up on gang culture and try to shape it in a way where it comes off like, oh yeah, that's how they really get down. Like, no, nigga, you didn't know what a Don Cheadle was until Colors came out. Let alone when you do the checks. This guy ain't no gang member. He got a whole interview on the podcast to tell you Don Cheadle is not a gangbanger, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
The man does not gangbang.
Never did.
He's not. No. You know what I'm saying? Glenn Plummer, he's not a gang member either. Like, neither is Damon Wayans or Leon. None of them, bro. They're just actors that got a check. That was it. That was all. You know what I'm saying? And that's another damn thing, too. The misleading of the flags, the rags, hanging on the wrong side. Like, if you see High Top when he's getting chased through the alley, why the hell is his red rag on the left side when the blood
flag? I never even caught that.
Come on, man. That should have told you everything right there. It's Hollywood.
Those little things, right?
Yep.
Damn, I never caught that. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. Yeah, that was an interesting time, man. Because not only that, but gangster rap, NWA. They had a lot to do with. Oh man, I want to be like those guys. I want to dress like those guys. It's amazing that popular culture did that. I mean, there are literally sets. I think I don't want to misname any countries, but there are sets in like South America, Central America, whatever, that started because someone got a hold of a tape of Colors.
Yeah, but that's pre-programming, because when you look at the movie, right, it's got everything you love. It's got guns, it's got sex, it's got drugs, it's drama, and the killing is, it's off the, you know what I'm saying? It's off the back,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's got an adrenaline rush. You feel me? That makes you. Well, I ain't gonna say it makes you, but it makes the people that have who don't really know themselves feel like they need to gravitate towards this. So because of that, that's an identity crisis. You dig? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when people have a misunderstanding of what this is, people gravitate towards it, and then you got people in Europe claiming that they're from rolling 60s, but they quoting out rolling 40s information. You kind of see what I'm getting at? And it's the same thing with the Bloods too. You know, you got Bloods in Europe that are saying that they, you know, neighborhood Bloods, but they throwing up, you know what I'm saying, the trays like Crips. What the hell? And then when you see these guys, they don't have, a lot of them don't have real ties to Los Angeles. If you ever see them in a picture with somebody from Los Angeles, a lot of the times what will happen is a rapper will go overseas and a rapper will post up and see that they got on, you know, the Crip gear or the Blood gear, and they'll hop in the picture with them and they'll just throw up their actual set. And then these guys will throw up the C trying to make themselves look solidified. But when you actually talk to these guys, you realize that these dudes ain't connected at all, bro.
Facts.
They're just fans. If you look at European rap right now, they sound like you guys in the 80s. Why do you think listen, why do you think the rappers here don't make a lot of money? Don't nobody give a fuck about most of these rappers spitting the gangster shit in America? Because half the time we know the niggas is fake.
But across seas, they don't know that. Oh, in the Philippines, I was just watching a video, and there was this whole neighborhood of Crips, and it was like 100, just 100 dudes, and you like, damn, that's the Philippines. That's a trip.
But you know what it is? See, they believe in something that they never got. You see, a lot of these guys ain't laced, Dusty. When their chucks ain't been laced, they're going to believe any damn thing. And that was another damn misconception. There's a lot of Crips and Bloods that could not, you know, overstand that they're not a part of Folk Nation nor People Nation.
Break that down, because I'm sure that was some confusion with that along the lines of when the Midwest sets in D.C. were intermingling with the L.A. sets, you know, the 8-Ball Alliance. I've heard that in the past, obviously. Yeah, break that down.
Okay, so with this 8-Ball, because we're about to do away with all of this, I'm going to say it loud and proud. No disrespect to the brothers of, you know, the Black Growth Development Nation, which is the folk. No disrespect to those that represent the People Nation. No disrespect to them either. You know, I have nothing to do. Crips and Bloods, Keyways, that's Crip. Damus, that's Bloods. We don't have shit to do with no T's, foes, GDs, BDs, Mo's, mafias, kings, souls, and cobras. Only mafia that's aligned with us is if it's Mafia Crip. The only gangsters we know is if it's Gangster Crip. You feel me? Other than that, we don't carry vice lords, bro. And I'm going to tell you this right now, the only Midwest gangs that trickled their way into California's penal code system or even remotely of the street would be my biggest rival, my biggest enemy hood would be Black P. Stone Jungles. And that's only because T. Rogers came from Chicago. He got ran up out of Chicago because he had some smut on his name. And he came from Black P. Stone Rangers. And what he did was he took the 5-point star and integrated it with the blood identity that was already cycling around in Los Angeles. You see what I'm saying? So the Jungles have a large Chicago influence. However, they're not backed by People Nation at all. If they try to take a trip to Chicago and get embraced, they will get punched in the face or shot down. There are no Bloods in Chicago. There are no Crips in Chicago. T. Rogers traded his red, his black, and his green, along with his white and his left side, and put it in the right side when he got to Los Angeles because he realized what type of ball game this is. He used that to gain access to their minds, to brainwash them into his cause of what he wanted them to fight. Because the Jungles that was in Los Angeles already called themselves Blackstones. See what I'm saying? When T. Rogers came over there, you know, he tried to influence them. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you know, that's how that integrated with the, you know, just the Jungles pushed to 5. But if you look at the rest of the Bloods, none of the Bloods, no matter if it's LA, Compton, Watts, or Inglewood or even outside of that. No blood has that, bro. No blood pushes the 5. No. And as for, another gang that came over from the Midwest, like the Latin Kings, integrated themselves in the penal system with the Mexicans because of the simple fact that, one, they're Latino, okay? They speak Spanish. So they're using survival mode tactics when they partner up in prison. So a lot of the Latin Kings ended up embracing the Southsider identity. That's how some of the Latin Kings are Serranos. All they did was they kept the black and the gold and they put the blue with it, bro. That's it. And it stops right there. It stops right there. As far as GDs, there is no adaptation of adapting anything from the GD.
Where did that come from? Is it because you both rock blue, or where do you think that whole thing came from?
Okay, so when you look at the Gangsta Disciples, right? The Gangsta Disciples wear blue because of the color of the sky, and they wear black because not only are they black, people, obviously, they wear black because of the sky, of the color of it when it turns at night. So that's where their two colors come from. They're nature driven. Okay. Now, when the BDs wear the blue and the black, it's for the sky in the daytime, and it's black at night, right? But where does the red come in? The red comes from the city of wind. That's where that color comes from. You feel me? So if you ever wondered why they have it in their right pocket, because they're folk. They bang to the right. People is opposite. That's where you get Latin Kings, like black and gold, Vice Lords, red, black and gold, Black Peace Stone Rangers, the real ones, red, black and green. Feel me? To the left. Same thing with the Cobras. They're people. You feel me? Okay. They started, and those gangs have been around since the 1950s. So they actually predate Crips and Bloods. So let's get that one out the way. When we say we Crip, we started in 69. But when you ask a nigga from his hood, hey, what are you guys before y'all become Crips? Well, I can only speak for my hood. I can give some pointers out to other hoods too. Like for Crips, before Harlem is Crip, we're called original Harlem Godfathers with class. And most of them are my mom's age. They come out of the 1950s, which is the baby boomers. So when they became Harlem Godfathers on one side, after that, we got the rebel rousers, you know what I'm saying, much later. Like, so we're talking 1962, 1965. And when the 70s was approaching, when the late 60s was approaching, like we're going to say like around 67, 68, you got the LA Max, right? And then when you fast forward, when we become West Side Original Harlem Crip, you birth the Avenues. Then after that, you birth the Dinkers. Then after that, you birth 39th Street. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So as years have went by, then they used to diss us by calling us, dirty 30s. Dirties was a way that you dissed us because of, the homies was, on the Sherm sticks. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And that's how they dealt us. So the only thing we did was, rest in peace, Queen Sonia. Sonia Vincent, for those that don't know. Her sons are the ones that started, Crafty Crips. So when niggas started saying Dirt Gang, Crafty Crip, Dirt Gang became, we gonna flip how the enemies diss us and turn that into something that we gonna embrace. So that's where you get the color brown from. Now, obviously, the color blue was already there because we Crips, right? Now, let me share for my viewers that don't know. The only reason why Crips even wear blue to begin with is because it's a memorial color based off of CRlP with Loco. But Loco is one of the first generation Crips that actually died with a, and his color rag that he kept was blue. When we adapted that, it was Raymond Lee Washington, rest in peace. First and foremost, Crippin' is Raymond's gang. That's the gang that he started. Tookie came and became a part of it. As far as the Harlems is concerned, Harlems, niggas hung with us, but they didn't bully us into joining Crip. No, the Harlems told them, hey, look, if y'all want us to become Crips, let us hang with y'all first to see how how y'all get down. Then we'll see if we want to fuck with y'all or not. That's how that relationship formed. Now, a lot to thank for West Side Crips would be Craig Craddock, salute. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that. And then we got, Barefoot Pookie, rest in peace. He really was instrumental for, Crip multiplication. He came from Smacks. He was on the East Side. He was a part of the West Side. He was a part of the UGs. He even helped start Block Crips. You know what I'm saying? He was also a part of the Insanes and the Paybacks when they were just one hood before they split. So, that's Crip multiplication. That's your guy, one-on-one. You feel me? Then you got Midtown and Palm and Oak businessmen, which were two separate crews in Compton that morphed into Santana Block Compton Crip. Fast forward today. And then you had, I believe, the Hickories and the JDCs, all the Jordan Downs, you know what I'm saying, clicked up with the Varios after, they got shot at by the Green Jackets that came over from the Nickersons. So when that happened, the Varios and the JDCs clicked up together and they became Watts Vario Grape Street Crip. That's where you got a lot of this from. So a lot of Crip multiplication, it happened for a reason. Same thing if you look at Inglewood Bloods. Inglewood Bloods, originally formerly known as Chain Gang. Chain Gang was trying to fuck with the Crips, but because of poor communication with trying to align themselves with it at the time, after that brawl happened from a misconception of misinformation, that's what made them go Bloods. I mean, let's be real, bro. If 200 niggas are looking for Dusty Vision and Dusty didn't tell us that, hey, he's about to interview 200 guys from Inglewood named Chain Gang, how that's going to register to all of us is, hey, bro, you said you're looking for who? Yeah, man, I'm looking for D. Well, D, that's funny because D ain't tell us he was coming through. So naturally, we're going to want to protect you. You feel me? Because you're not physically here at this moment, right? So we got 500 niggas outside and you talking about you looking for this individual. Most people take that personal, bro. So because people are young, the mindset is that of a teenager. People are hot-headed. Nobody's going to listen. You know what I'm saying? You can't reason with people that ain't here to talk. And with gangsters, there's no talking. It's just straight brawl. Mm-hmm. We got, you know what I'm saying? Then you got the businessmen up on the east side. I remember you stating that your father, original businessman. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Barry White.
He was also Barry White. They knew him personally.
Yeah, and you remember Jamil Barnes, right?
I know the name very well.
Yeah, they call him OG Sampson. Fast forward to that. That's Avalon Gangster Crip. Fast forward, you feel me? And they almost became Bloods. And if it wasn't for the relationship, with the Broadways, that's what made them Crip. You feel me? So you can see how Crip multiplication is. You feel me? A lot of people tend to forget those things. But as far as knowledge, it's like if people had this opportunity to have that, a lot of things would be done different. And first and foremost, if people had an open line of communication and actually built a relationship with these people, Crippin' and Bloodin' would be totally different, because they would have told you, hey, bro, we don't have nothing to do with GDs. Stop with the 6-point star. And a lot of people, because people like what the 6 represents, the GDs gave it a meaning because the GDs, right, the folk and the peoples, the only real reason that they have principles or principalities with each of their points that correlate with their stars was because they tried to uniform their gangs into organizations to be accepted by corporate so that they wouldn't be looked at as street gangs. It's like I don't want to be looked at as a criminal, but let me try to dress it up and make it look cool. And that's the same thing with, Crip. Crip had no real meaning of an acronym. It was just Crips. Feel me? Over time, people gave it an acronym. Like people, I've had these conversations with Barefoot before he passed, and even in some of his interviews, if you recall, and even some of the archives, Barefoot Pookie would state that, Community Revolution in Progress, servants was the full acronym. However, when you took that to a greenhouse, trying to get that signed off by the mayor for it to be a greenhouse project, or an operation of sorts, white people in corporate America view the word revolution as a means of rebellion. So what they did was they changed the R word was the biggest thing that scared them. So that became Community Resources Inter-Party Services. You see how you could just make that up on the fly and how it sounds like a clean, smooth operation. Like, it's friendly. You feel me? It's friendly. The friendliest way of selling you, something that's, that's not positive, bro.
Yeah.
You feel me? Not to downplay, the seaside or anything. Don't just, I'm just gonna keep it real, bro. A lot of shit that is said by street culture is to get the man to get up off of us, man. That's what that's for. There's nothing really that you can say that you can make this feel like this is the Boy Scouts, because it's not, bro. On either side, not the C side nor the B side. It's not the Boy Scouts, my nigga. There's no such thing as they're friendly Crips and it's friendly Bloods.
Let me ask you what you think of this. I was talking to an OG recently. Good dude. Lived in the 70s, was doing his thing back then. From the blue team. He's part of the blue team, Compton Crip. And he was telling me that in hindsight, he believes that the early Pyrus were tougher than the Crips. And I was like, okay, talk to me. So he started explaining. He said, because back then everybody wanted to be a Crip. Everybody was wanting to be, it was power in numbers, maybe 10 Crips to 1 Blood or whatever the case was back then. So he said in order to join the red team, you had to be just, on your extra BS. And he said that the rules that he came across were probably 10 times harder than some of his own homies. I would love to know what you think of that. And keep in mind, this is back in, 72, 73, 74, whatever, early to mid 70s. But what are your thoughts on him saying that to be a Paru back then, you had to, have an extra set of balls?
Well, I will be honest with you. It kind of reminds me of, how DC is, a bigger, neighborhood that has over 10 different blocks. And everybody is like, we'll use this hood for an example. KDY is short for Kennedy Street. The Kennedy Street starts all the way, downtown, and it goes all the way uptown to George Ave and Petworth. That's the cutoff. That's a hood that was made up of smaller hoods that banded together because they wanted the numbers. Meanwhile, other surrounding hoods, don't have the same set of manpower or membership. So what was made up for the difference was weapons were introduced into play to level the playing field. Because think about it. If a guy back then knew that, hey, bro, I don't even have to leave the house with a gun. All I got to do is know how to fist fight and I'm good. And it's like all of these niggas around me, like, know how to fight too. Oh, I'm cool. No need for a weapon, right? But the guys that don't have the muscles or the strength or that type of fighting, capability, let alone the numbers and membership, what they'll do is they'll go get a weapon because they know they have no chance in hell at winning. And when you look at the Crips, because I've seen the early pictures, I've been laced with the real shit, my nigga. If I've seen a nigga like Mac Thomas, right? And for those who don't know, shout out to, rest in peace to Mac Thomas. He is the face of Compton Crips. Mac Thomas, you know what I'm saying? And can't forget about Honcho. I won't forget about Honcho. Mac Thomas and Honcho got about 4 brothers each, right? And all of them was built like, freight trains, trucking through shit, just like Raymond Lee Washington, just like Stanley Williams. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, like just like Sweetback, OG Sweetback, just like um good God, so many to name. You feel me? Like what was it? Even Big James Miller from my hood. You feel me? All of these guys were built like that for a reason, and even including Jamil Barnes, my nigga. So
Yeah, to this day he's stacked up, huh?
just imagine a guy who used, these are guys that used to lift weights that showed Arnold Schwarzenegger how to fucking lift. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like these are the Crips guys, and that's another thing too. Um, salute to the Avenues Bodybuilders Club. I believe it's Craig Munson and Robert Munson. They were instrumental for showing Raymond Lee Washington how to bodybuild. And that's where Raymond picked up the bodybuilding from. And then when you looked at who he was hanging with, all the Crips now, depending on the biology of your body, everybody doesn't get that big, okay? Everybody that was big like that was going around. You got 40-inch arms with a 50-inch chest, and you can just pick someone up by that jaw. You really think that you about to win that fight? Hell the fuck no. Like, you know what I'm saying? So when somebody approaches you, I want you to, you know, to picture this portrait with me. A guy like that approaches you, and this is going to determine your state of mind and your character. You know what I'm saying? I want you to put yourself in the shoes of somebody that, let's say, put yourself in the shoes of somebody that's not Crip yet, but they're not a blood either. This person walks up to you and says, hey, look, there's two of them. There's one of them that says, hey, bro, you know, get down with the, you know, such and such. If not, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to beat your ass every day, and I'm going to tax your ass every time I see you slinging that shit on my fucking street, and you're not cutting me or the rest of the homies. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? No money. So we finna extort your ass. You know what I'm saying? A nigga like that, you know, and it's the same thing with the Beach Boys. You know what I'm saying? The Pueblos. The Pueblos, you know, they were bodybuilders. They were pretty big too. You feel me? And, you know, you couldn't walk on that beach without getting your ass beat if you wasn't from them. You know, the Beach Boys. So, you know, just kind of think about that. You know, then the other guys who say, you know what? I'm not going to pay taxes to you or nothing. I'd blow your ass down. No diddy. Whip out the Yakamichi and start shooting because you lack the physical size and stature. Now, for that falls in the category of being more extra. You know what I'm saying? So the Bloods had to be extra in order to level the playing field. Because let's face it, bro, you've been over 40 plus years of Crips and Bloods feuding. The only way the Bloods was able to survive for so long, you got to look at the mind state of the Bloods. The Bloods only got really but one color that belongs to them, and that's red. You know what I'm saying? What do the Bloods do? They learn that other Crip hoods wear this color and that color, and then they integrate it with their wardrobe, and they can pass through their neighborhoods without getting fucked up. That's how the Bloods, you know, are able to survive for so long. So they know if they got to go through Compton, you a Pyru, and you got to go through Compton, you see all that blue, my nigga, you can get shit beat out of you if you got on burgundy. You feel me? So what do? You don't wear red, but you wear black and white because you want to blend in with the block Crips. Same thing if you wore gray. You want to blend in with them, right? And the gangsters. When you go over here to buy something to eat, you over here by the hustler Crips. So you know their color is green. So now you're trying to take on their color because you don't want to get pressed for going to the 7-Eleven, nigga. Because you know you ain't supposed to be over here, motherfucker. You know that. Then you try to wear my color. You try to wear brown. Like, you know, look at the skylines. You feel me? You're doing this shit because you know that once we figure out who you are, at that time, it's on and cracking like Donkey Kong. You're not about to win that, bro. I don't give a fuck who you are. You see 40 plus niggas, 50 plus niggas, 60 plus niggas, 200 plus niggas outside of any type of restaurant, gas station, or store, you're going to feel intimidated. You're going to, if you ain't got Yakamichi on you and you ain't got tents, bro, back then, it's a suicide mission. You know, the Bloods used to emulate Crips to the point where they would wear blue just to call us up to cars and shoot at us. Because they see us, how easily it would be to like, oh, what up, cuz? What's cracking, cuz? emulating the lingo and then dapping us up. And then what happens when you open up, when you dap somebody up, you got yourself wide open. So now I got the pistol in the seat. I can smoke you. Feel me? Nowadays it's vice versa. Crips, we wear red because we want to look better than the Bloods in red, and that pisses them off. And it also, most of us be on some flyboy shit. However, that's also, utilized as a tactic too. Wearing red could be a way of throwing off not just the Bloods. If you're a Crip, that's in disguise, it's also to throw off, police, because let's say your parole officer is trying to fuck with you for wearing your hood colors. He knows that your hood don't sport that color. So if you wear that, you know what I'm saying? How the fuck are you going to arrest me, bro? I'm not in violation. You know what I'm saying? I got the ops color on. So you got to back up off me. And then there's no telling. And it's also because there might be a small Crip hood that may not have alliances. They may not have all these alliances with, bigger Crip sets. So they got to figure out a way how to use, Marine tactics to level the playing field. So in case, and I'm not trying to be funny, if 4 people come together with $10,000 each, that's about 40 bands, right? Mm-hmm. That's enough money to kick back cars and ammunition. You got a car, you can run over people. You got ammunition, you got endless clips for days, bro. There ain't no way you're losing that. Got explosives, got whatever you need. Got flamethrowers, everything. Choppers, switches. Who needs to go in the gym at that point? Why do you? You feel me? How can you blame them? Now, if you got 200 people and you got $40,000, you know what I'm saying? You can honestly say that somebody's going to be left out without a car, and some people are going to be left out without some yakamichis. You feel me? Mm. So you can kind of see the difference, right?
Yeah, I see exactly what you did there.
So, there's a lot of things that, that correlate to the art of war. You know what I'm saying? And this all goes back to the 48 levels of power. All of this shit is war tactics. All of it is power. And I think there's a lot of internal struggles and external struggles that each side deals with within their own ranks, including the ops to this day. And if we're going to be real, I feel like this. Harlem Crip has been around since, Harlem's period, we've been around since 1962. We are in 2025 going onward, my nigga. My hood is big enough alone to feud with 8 hoods by itself. You know what I'm saying? And when others that we're cool with, that are our allies, you feel me, integrate with us, you know what I'm saying? Now it's almost like, bro, everybody's undefeated. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about the Harlems, we are the only ones that really kept it mainly about, beefing with Bloods. We've had our scuffles with other Crips, but for the most part, we don't kill Crips, cuz. That's not what we do, If it's the Bloods and it's the Hoovers, then and it's the SAs that want problems, like the Harpies. And if it's the police, then it's on. It's on and cracking. It's the same thing, vice versa, for some of the Bloods. You got some Bloods that's able to survive because they clicked up with Crip sets in order to survive. And you got alliances that are formed on that side because they'll even make a deal with the Hoovers. I don't know how strong these movements are, but I know some. I can only speak for my side. On my side, the Harlems, the Coasters, the Fautrays, the Main Streets, and the Raymonds, we clicked up. You feel me? So that's what? Roller Coaster Coast Moving? So that's 98430 ECRC. That's how we program. So we cool. And then Harlems, we also cool with 30s to the 100s. So everybody that got rolling, oh yeah, we on the west side with it, homie. Good luck fighting that. And then it's even worse because now you look at the A-Tray Gangster Crips, they partner themselves with Englewood Family Gangster Bloods. Then they also partner with all the Hoovers, Gangster Crips and criminals, because now they want to push Sewell moving and grooving. And that's out of desperation to level the playing field to fight my side and my politics. You And then other cities that also have their own alliances, like the hub is for Compton, the dub is for Watts, and the tub is Long Beach. And it's from the hub to the dub to the tub with love. You feel me? They found a way to, get along with each other. So you can kind of see how, things are done a little bit differently when it comes to that. Yeah. Alliances keep enemies and allies alive some of the time, especially during war times. You feel me? And a way to maintain those alliances for some of them, that's when you see a lot of us integrate ball games and recreational activities where people don't die. That's how we maintain the peace between different neighborhoods. And it's like that on both sides. I want to first give this shout out to DustyVisionTV. So hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button so y'all never miss one of his notifications. You know what I'm saying? Peace and blessings to his channel.
Thank you.
I also want to, give a shout out to, King Mine Entertainment. That's my OG. That's my big homies label. You know what I'm saying? King Mine Entertainment, King Mine Cola, and my other homie, another big homie of mine. Shout out to, FMR. You feel me? Fast Money Records. Shout out to the homies from 40s, No Sense. With Run and Tell Apparel. And once again, subscribe to my boy Phantom for keeping it 3100 on his channel. And as far as me, I'm just, I still got Avenues Originals, so y'all know where to follow me at, But I will say this, getting this venture into the 18-wheelers, I'm still, I already got my card and everything. I just, got to update my dot test information and, sign on to a contract that I agree with, getting that trailer, man. Appreciate it. Once again, Dusty, thank you for thank you for being a lifelong friend. Thank you for giving me an opportunity, man. And I appreciate the vibes. It's always a good conversation, man. Always, bro.
Well, hey, tell the gang I said what's up, and I'll be talking to you soon, all right?
All right, man.
All right, peace, dude.
All right, peace, bro.